An archaeological collection of the millenary Valdivia culture, one of the oldest in America, has returned to Ecuador.
Hello! I'm very pleased to highlight the importance of this fascinating documentary about the repatriation from Canada of archaeological pieces belonging to the oldest settlement in the Americas, the pre-Hispanic Valdivia culture. The arrival of this national heritage is a fortunate milestone within the celebration marking in 2020 the 60th anniversary of the beginning of diplomatic relations between Ecuador and Canada. Enjoy this documentary, which is a collaborative effort between Ecuadorian and Canadian universities that deepens ties of friendship that unite both countries.
Pieces of approximately 5,000 years old, which for scientific purposes left Ecuador in the 80s of the 20th century, have been returned by the University of Calgary to the San Francisco de Quito University to continue their study.
Universidad San Francisco de Quito is the first liberal arts university in the Hispanic world. We are considered the #1 university in Ecuador by QS University rankings. With the largest international exchange program, we receive about 1,000 students from 43 countries. We have about 250 agreements for exchange and research, and we are the only university that has a station in the Galapagos Islands that we run with the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and station in the Amazon region that we run with Boston University.
Thousand archaeological pieces returned to Ecuador from Canada. The Valdivia culture has an extensive occupation in time and space. It is located in South America on the coast of Ecuador, the territory that currently corresponds to the provinces of Guayas, Los Rios, Manabí, and Telor. The Valdivia culture has a long development, between 3,500 and 1,500 years before Christ. But with investigations carried out in Loma Alta, it was evident that this area began to be occupied long before the Valdivians, giving support to the idea that the Valdivians were the result of local development and completely discarding the hypothesis of trans-Pacific contact.
The Valdivia culture was basically, or represented the shift from this hunters and gatherer fishermen economy that implies movement, implies that people are going around, has campsites, nothing very fancy. And then the Valdivians start first to develop agriculture. That means that they have to practice around their houses, and it means also that they have to stay where they are cultivating. So that reduces mobility and basically creates these sedentary groups. Sedentarism, use of pottery, and agriculture. And that's a huge change. In Europe, it's called the Neolithic Revolution, because basically it's a change in the way we live.
For many years of the last century, Ecuador did not appear as an archaeological point in the world, until the couple of archaeologists Betty Meggers and Clifford Evans made an unexpected stop in the city of Guayaquil, where they met the amateur archaeologist Emilio Estrada.
And Emilio Estrada showed them material that he has been excavating with other guys in this little town, this fisherman town called Valdivia. And what struck them was the fact that this pottery that Estrada had was very, very, very similar. It was kind of copy of a culture that developed in Japan called Homon. Valdivia became, at that moment, the earliest pottery in the New World. And so, and it was a little late, like 1,000 and a couple of thousand more years later than the Homon. And so they thought, okay, well, that makes the connection. I mean, the Homon probably were brought by the currents and landed in Valdivia, and then the ceramic was made, and then the whole New World pottery that expanded from Valdivia was made in Japan, basically. And so that brought the attention of the world. I mean, it was a whole change on how pottery started in the New World. And so that made a lot of archaeologists aware of the existence of Valdivia and its importance of one of the earliest pottery, at that time, the earliest pottery in the New World. And that's how it became important, well-known, and everybody in the world started talking about Valdivia.
Cuando ellos llegaron a esta zona de aquí de Valdivia y me invitaron para que yo le acompañara a los trabajos, ¿no? Entonces, pues aquí donde se encuentra al frente el museo, se hicieron los primeros ensayos en trabajo y se comenzó a hacer los estratos. Trabajamos más o menos como unas 30 personas.
After the publication of several articles and the investigation of Estrada, Megers, and Evans, where it is indicated that the oldest ceramics in the Americas until then was the result of a possible migration of potters from Japan to the shores of the peninsula de Saint Helene, from where it expanded to the rest of the continent, known as the Trans-Pacific Contact Hypothesis. This explanation brought with it not only heated discussions among archaeologists, but also meant the beginning of several investigations in the area. As a consequence, two major projects were carried out during the 60s, Real Alto and Loma Alta, the latter by Scott Raymond in conjunction with the University of Calgary.
Scott Raymond, who also worked with Don Lathrop in Peru, decided to study the Valdivia Valley. Not exactly the site where Megers, Evans, and Estrada have been excavated, but site in the area. Loma Alta was in the same valley, but 10 kilometers inside. And it was visited before by this another archaeologist, self-trained Presley Norton. And then is how the University of Calgary, with Scott Raymond as the head of the project, began to work in the area.
The Loma Alta collection has around 10,000 pieces between fragments and incomplete forms made of stone, ceramic, and shell. Also, it has several burials. An important part of the collection are the figurines of the famous Venus of Valdivia made of stone.
We also have what I think is the best collection of early Valdivia stone figurines that come from a context. Most of the figurines that we see around are pottery made, but these are the earliest ones that are stone, made out of stone. So I think this is one of the best things we have here.
This valuable collection from Loma Alta arrived at the San Francisco de Quito University after a long journey from the city of Calgary in Canada.
Well, basically, as during the 70s, 80s, early 70s, when the collection left, we in Ecuador didn't have any infrastructure or anything to do any analysis, etc. And so the collection was in the Laboratory of Archaeology at Calgary and was used by students for their thesis, etc. And it was always directed by, or it was in the hands of Scott Raymond. But when Scott decided to go for retirement, he was very concerned about what's going to happen to the collection, and he decided that the collection should come back. With Scott, we have worked in various projects. With Calgary, we have agreements, exchange. Some of our students have gone to Calgary, etc. So it's a fluid communication. And one of those trips, I visited the lab at Calgary, and we agree upon bringing the collection here in Ecuador and to USFQ. Because Scott and I think that this is the best place where the collection should be available for the public, for the archaeologists, for the students, and eventually for the local community to visit. And so that's how we decided. We talked to the Instituto Nacional de Patrimonio Cultural, and we came out with all the regulations, etc. And happily, on June 5th, the collection arrived to the Laboratorio de Arqueología of Universidad San Francisco de Quito.
The anthropology major at USFQ, where the collection will be curated and investigated, is one of the 3 higher education centers where future archaeologists and anthropologists in the country are trained. It is the youngest major. We are entering our 4th year, and we currently have more than 40 students who are preparing to be the future anthropologists of Ecuador, some of whom will surely try to do postgraduate degrees at Canadian universities.
My name is Carlos Montúfar. I am the rector of Universidad San Francisco in Quito, Ecuador. This university is a private, non-for-profit research liberal arts institution. One of our strong points over the years has been our international programs. We currently have over 100 working agreements with many North American institutions and throughout the world. In North America, specifically with the United States and Canada. Our relationship with Canada has been going over for the last 20 years with many institutions like Grant MacEwan and the University of Calgary and the University of Alberta. Our research programs have included a variety of fields from physics through anthropology, through archaeology, biology, microbiology, and we are very active in these areas. With our research labs and our scientists, we will be able to gather and obtain more data of this period of Ecuadorian history that's still not very clear and unknown. Our researchers are looking forward to work with these pottery along with Canadian and other world institutions through collaborations with different laboratories and different techniques in order to be able to get more data as far as our history and pre-Columbian history is concerned. We are very, very happy about this collection, and we're looking forward to be able to provide more information and research on this field. Thank you very, very much.
El descubrimiento de la cultura Valdivia lo hizo Estrada en el año de 1956, en la época del 60, justo aquí, y el orgullo que sentimos es saber de que nuestros comuneros fueron parte de ese descubrimiento, porque no solamente se encontró la cultura Valdivia aquí en este lugar. Al inicio, a los 10 centímetros, se encontraron vestigios de una cultura española. Luego se encontró la cultura manteño-huancavilca, asimismo procedió a encontrarse la cultura huangala, la cultura chorrera, machalilla y al final la cultura Valdivia. O sea, se habla de una sobreposición de culturas en diferentes etapas de tiempo. ¿Sí? Entonces nos han explicado de que muy pocos lugares en el mundo pueden tener tan antigüedad como lo tiene el sitio G31 aquí, donde está construido nuestro museo.